What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Straight Wall Hunting Cartridge Series continued. Today we're back to 350 Legend. Today we're with an old school 350 Legend cartridge, one of the originals, the 180 grain PowerPoint. What this PowerPoint is basically a soft tip or an exposed lead soft point, partially jacketed. So you got a muzzle velocity advertised of 2,100 feet per second, and then at 50 yards, 1926, and at 100 yards, which we will be hitting a gel block at 100 yards, 1762. We will be using Clear Ballistics Gel blocks, 10%, 20-inch shooters blocks that we ordered specially just to have nice and clear ones for these tests. So hope you guys like that footage. It's looking pretty good on the previous test. Check those out. We've already gone through 400 Legend. We did a 360 Buckhammer and a 444 Marlin so far. All very impressive. But it's interesting to see what it will do at 100 yards versus like 15 or 20 yards. Usually a big difference in what can happen with the projectile as far as velocity and how it affects the opening of the projectile, therefore penetration and initial wound cavity. The rifle we've been using for testing is pretty much a budget option, but that's not to say it's a bad option. This is a CVA Scout. This is the original Scout, not the V2. It's a single shot rifle that's kind of actually pretty lightweight and small frame, so smaller people or newer, younger shooters would have a really good time with this rifle. It's not a big, heavy thing to lug around, or anybody that just needs to go through brush or wants to climb up tree stands and doesn't want to take a 20-pound rifle with them. This is actually a really good choice. Now, the numbers that are generated for the box are from a 20-inch barrel. We'll see the difference. We have a Caldwell and a Garmin. Hopefully we catch all those velocities. And for anybody that cares, we're using a SIG Buckmaster scope, 3 to 12 power, another budget option, and SIG Buckmaster ring. So we're going to get things moved around a little bit, and then we're going to smack this gel block at 100 yards. All right, 180 grain PowerPoint at 100 yards. Let's see what happens. We might not have even hit that block. Hopefully we did. I'm not sure. 2298.8 on the Garmin and 2283 on the Caldwell. I'll tell you what, well, we were supposed to be zeroed. I thought that we were zeroed, but I completely missed this block. I put the bullet all the way up here. I was aiming for the dead center of the block, so I'm talking I missed it by a significant amount. Now check this out. I said, okay, we got to take a second shot. I do not know what happened. Either I lost my zero or I just took a bad shot. Maybe the ammo's crap. I don't know. So I shot over here to confirm my zero, and I ended up all the way over here. So I thought, okay, no matter what, whatever's off, something's off. I'll just do Kentucky windage for this next shot. So you're going to go ahead and see that next shot right now, but we do have a problem with that one. I want to show you this because we show you no BS testing here in the Turkey's Opinion, and I can't imagine this is something we're doing wrong, but check out this next shot. All right, so something's up here. It's got to be the ammo. It can't be me. I'm on bags. I have my scope totally locked in with Loctite. Those scopes are not that bad. These shots are not that hard to take. You saw what I did with my Kentucky windage attempt, or what I told you I was going to do. So here's my Kentucky windage attempt. I hit the block right here, exactly where I aimed at. I was hoping to hit somewhere in the top left corner, but I ended up hitting it right here. Therefore, the bullet skimmed right across the bottom. It did land here in the second gel block, but it was a totally failed shot. When you hit the edge of a gel block like that, you're never going to see the effect that you're supposed to. There's no resistance. The bullet didn't even appear to open up. So I tried to Kentucky windage it, and all of a sudden, this rifle and everything came together, and I hit exactly where I was aiming at. I'm talking within a half of an MOA of where I was aiming. I was aiming at the very corner of that block. So we're going to attempt this again, but just to show you, this ammo might not be right for this gun. At least not this gun, this scope, this shooter, this combination. So attempt number 3, let's go. Hopefully we can hit this thing. I guess I better try to aim dead center again. So 2 lessons to be learned from this really quick. I always tell people this one. Number 1, gun tubing ain't easy. So be easy on your favorite YouTuber when things don't go perfectly properly. And number 2, sometimes the shenanigans on gun tubing, YouTube and videos, whatever you want to call them, they can be pretty crazy. When everything shoots like a .3 MOA group and nothing ever goes wrong, everything's always perfect, trust me, they might have gone through 2 or 3 of these gel blocks before they actually show you the perfect hit, or they might have shot the target about 25 times before they show you that perfect group. Not everybody, just showing you guys, sometimes it's a lot of baloney. We don't show you that baloney here. Well, let's get on with the test. Now, that last shot was 2001.7 on the Garmin. We did not get a reading on the Caldwell. It is airing like crazy just because it's in existence right now. That thing right back there, see, it says air. Just being touched with sunlight, it wants to be a butthole. Just another example of gun tubing ain't easy. So we got that chronograph out of there because it's going to make me nuts just constantly going to air. I'm going to take a very carefully aimed shot at this gel block and see what we can get done. I don't have very high hopes. I'm expecting this day to continue going wacky, but let's try. I think we got a really good hit. I did just instinctively have the Kentucky windage it down about probably down 1 inch and to the right 1 inch, and it did not hit at the point of aim, point of impact, but we still hit. As long as it didn't leave the block, we should be pretty good. I don't think we got a difference on that chronograph. We might have. We got 2004.5. So yeah, that's different. As I said, we don't have the Caldwell down there anymore, but let's go take a look. All right, much better. I'll take that for sure. That leaves us room to put another one in there where we can be able to see. But as you can see, that impact down there was no good. That one up there is, well, my finger changed that. That impact is really good. All right, so there we go. At the initial impact area, we have quite a lot of devastation. It looks like a lot of these hunting cartridges where they have a very big burning effect in the gel to begin with. That's a lot of kinetic energy being transferred, and it totally shows. I mean, that's some nasty singeing going on in there. Quite a large permanent wound cavity that doesn't settle down until, let me get straightened back up here again. I would say the biggest part of that wound cavity starts settling down at maybe 13 inches, but that's still not settling down too much. It continues to go through what's got to be the plowing effect. You can see after it comes out of the first gel block right there and goes into the second gel block, we definitely have some more disturbance going on there. We actually have a little bit more of that charring effect. So something nasty went on right there, and then it continued to go down much farther than the one that skimmed the bottom of the block. We have this one landing face forward. We're gonna have to look at it from the top for that face forward effect, but it is definitely landing face forward. It did land at, I would say 33 inches, and it bounced back to about 32.5. So we did get some pretty darn good penetration out of it. Let's look from the top. So from the top, getting kind of close to it to eliminate shadow, we do have some pretty nasty burning effect in there, just like you saw from the side. Twists and turns and winds a little bit, but maintains a pretty steady wound track all the way down. There's like little shiny shimmery parts of air gap trapped in there. As we go through that block, another twist and turn right there, get down to the piercing part of the wound channel, and boom, it's landed face forward right there. Pretty darn nice. We'll go ahead and follow it back one time, see if I can keep the focus on it. Got that tumble right there, passing through the 2 different blocks, and yeah, that's definitely something you don't want to get hit with if you're a deer. That's a bad day for a deer. I think that'll set them right down. Looking at it from the other side, nothing really too different. You see the major disruption pretty much all the way through that whole first block. And there we go, landing all the way down there in the second block. Let's see what happens when we get a little bit closer, about 15 yards. All right, we have that gel block about 15 yards away now. We've put the chronograph back out there. Hopefully it will do its job. I know my holdover for this distance, but we've been wrong already today once or twice, so hopefully... Yeah, that should be a good shot. It's going to be a little dirty now that it hit the other piece of the table, but we have 2039.1 here on the Garmin, and I'm going to have to check down there, but I think it says 1999. So I'm not sure if that's a symbol that we're supposed to have a party or something, but... And before I straighten things up, I'll just show you how I found things laying. We have that projectile, which we don't even have to measure to tell you, made it 20 inches because it's not out of the, or it's out of the first one, but it's not into the second one. So it's right in between. So that's a 20-inch penetration right there, but let's straighten things up to check out the wound channel. All right, that was the strike we just put into it. It wasn't that hard to Kentucky windage it at that close of a distance, surprisingly, as far as that thing was off at the actual 100-yard line. So you can see there's not a whole lot of that toasting, charring crap going on in there, but still a pretty significant wound channel. There is some of that going on, but nowhere near like it was out there at 100 yards. And then the wound channel itself dissipates down to a little bit less. It's kind of hard to see here without that cardboard. Let me put the cardboard back there. Putting the cardboard back there to give you a little bit different light to look at. You can see the one on the bottom is a little bit tinier. I'd say it's a lot tinier actually. But the whole chaotic part probably stops right there at about 11 inches, maybe 11 and a half at the most. And then it pretty much immediately just goes down to that smaller wound track and it lands right there in between the two blocks. Pretty mangled up, but nowhere near the penetration we got out of the long shot out there. That's a really big difference. That's a huge trade-off for supposedly dumping a lot more energy right there at the beginning. And by the numbers, you are dumping more energy, but we're just not getting the penetration, nowhere near the penetration. So the difference between a 15-yard shot and a 100-yard shot with this specific ammunition is crazy. Looking at it from the top down, you can see a little bit of a difference there between the size possibly in the beginning of this newer one. It looks totally different because it's not charred. And then as you move down, you can see how there's pretty much a difference, and one is big and leaving behind little particles of whatever shimmery stuff, probably just air, but the other one's very thin. All right, looking at it from kind of a corner but top shot right there, you can definitely see the difference between the two. I'm going to go ahead and call the one from the closer up shot, I'm going to call it bigger, even though there's not that crazy violence in there, that burning effect. But then moving down, you definitely see the difference. One is smaller than the other. That one up top, the one from the distance shot, that thing really kept trucking and did some violence along the way. And this one landed right there like we showed you before, and just totally different there at the end. Very, very different, very cool. I'm glad we do the testing, that way we know. All right, here's the projectile unaffected by our shenanigans. Here's the 100-yard shot. Here's the 15-yard shot. And here's the failed shot, the one where the bullet just traveled at the bottom of that block. So we did have a failure to expand and properly do what it's supposed to do. It kind of did it. It just didn't do it properly. When you ride the edge of a block like that, it's never going to be good. So let's get that one kicked out of there. We do have the reason this one got so deep, because it did not expand as much. So without so much frontal area there, it's able to plow through a little bit deeper. It still had plenty of disruption at the beginning. It did peel its stuff back and do its craziness at the beginning, but it had a lot smaller of a bullet to continue through. This one, when it hits the block, when we're 15 yards off the block, it's going to hit with a lot more velocity, and it's definitely going to slam into the front of it, mushrooming it out and pushing it down, smushing, mashing, and increasing the frontal diameter big time, therefore putting the brakes on sooner, but theoretically creating a whole lot more disruption in the beginning, dumping the energy sooner, and just giving it that oomph right there. Now, it only made it 20 inches, but how deep do you need to go into a deer after you hit it with all those foot-pounds? Turning them on their side, you can see some differences. This has a whole lot more bullet to work with. This one is way smashed back, so we'll eventually measure it here and see how much weight it lost, but you can see the mushrooming effect is totally different than the one that was 100 yards away. Upside down, you're basically going to see the exact same thing. One is mushed back a lot farther. The one that was shot at 100 yards has a retained weight of 173.6, and the one that we shot up close has a retained weight of 173.3 or 4. The best diameter I can get you out of the 100-yard shot would be 0.523 inches, so right around a half of an inch. And the best I can get you out of the close-up shot is 0.668. Keep in mind, these projectiles start their life at 0.355. Just like I say every time, there's the information. Use it how you see fit. Let us know in the comments what you think about this ammunition, 350 Legend in general, or up close, far away. How do you guys hunt? What do you guys use? Where are you at? I know 350 Legend is pretty controversial, whether it's enough to actually take down a deer ethically or not, and I don't know why that argument exists. I think it's plenty to take down a deer. You can take a deer down with a regular 9mm, let alone a stretched out 9mm. You just have to hit the deer right and know what you're doing. Recoil is there with this gun. It's not like it's not there. So for youth hunters, be careful. It still does have recoil. Teach them not to scope themselves. But in general, it's very shootable, and I think it's very effective. We see pretty good damage on that block. Now, that block is not deer, but it's what we have to work with. I don't think I'd be allowed to show you videos on here of me shooting through deer carcasses all day. They might not let that fly. Hope you're enjoying this straight wall testing series. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, maybe share it with somebody else who might like it. And until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.